Every 2 days, the world creates more digital content than has been created in every language since ancient peoples first began to write things down. And that huge amount of content is changing the way that companies are globalizing their businesses. Industries need to communicate by skipping over the language barrier while seamlessly integrating critical information right across the World Wide Web. To discuss this, let's talk to Adolfo Hernandez, Chief Executive of SDL, a leading global innovator in language translation technology and content management. I'm Paula Middlehurst. Welcome to the Business Debate. Adolfo, welcome to the London Stock Exchange studios.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Now, you're in the business of helping companies go global. What does that mean in practice? And if it's not too big a question to ask, how's that changed over, say, the last decade?
Fab question. It's changed a lot. It's changed massively. You know, if you go back and think about the sort of middle of the 20th century, going global was I'll send a couple of people, open a new office somewhere, I send them on with some brochures and off you are, start selling. Then started opening manufacturing plants in other parts around the world. That was the 80s and the early 90s. Then came the internet. So all of a sudden you could sell globally and market your brand globally. And now you got the mobile, right? And this hyper growth of mobile, now you can get to people directly. So globalization is, particularly from a global distribution perspective, is both the biggest opportunity that most businesses have and a big challenge because it's no longer a few countries, it's multiple countries, multiple continents, tens and tens of languages, multiple formats, text, video, social. So it's a great opportunity for businesses, but a bit of complexity.
And when you look at all those changes that are happening and you put that in the context of the political changes that are happening as well, we've seen happening all over the world, what is it that businesses now should be looking towards in the near future in terms of their global competence?
Well, I think whatever you do with your production, and that seems to be much of what the discussions is all about with protectionism, right? What do you do with your manufacturing capabilities? The one thing is not going to change is your interest as a business leader to continue selling overseas, right? And as you got that opportunity, you could ignore it. I wouldn't do it. You could go after it. And if you want to go after it, do you want to do it yourself and learn by doing and incur costs and delay? Or do you work with someone who's been doing this for 25 years, who's got thousands of people all over the world, and has got the capabilities both on technology and human beings and knowledge to help you get your brand values across to the target countries that you're going after.
And with so much digitization around, it's tempting, I suppose, to just turn to machine translation to answer all your problems in terms of your digital transformation and all your digital content. But in terms of incorporating a human touch to that, what do you look for?
I think you need to do the best of both worlds and get humans and machines to work together. There are going to be content types, say emails or bulletin boards and stuff on the internet, that just getting the gist of it translated by a software robot might be good enough.
Like a set of instructions, for example?
A set of instructions, well, you know, you might get, depends what the instructions are for, right? If it's to operate the washing machine, you'll be fine. If it's how to do maintenance on an Airbus 380, then you might want to just use exact linguist-based translation. If you're going to do a regulatory filing around life sciences, patents and things like that, financial services, you'll need nuanced, correct, high-quality linguist translation. So it's not one or the other. It's using machines for what they're best at and using humans for what they're best at.
Explain for us why SDL is unique in terms of incorporating human translators. We know there's lots of software on the market that does machine translation, but what about using both disciplines in harmony?
Yeah, we've been doing human-based translation for 25 years. We've been doing machine learning and since 2003. We've got the capabilities to do both. And yes, we don't have one answer. We will have the right answer depending on what customers are trying to do, depending on the content type, depending on the target language, the target formats. They might demand a different mix of human versus machine.
Will machine translators ever supplant human translators as the better option, or is it always going to be a combination?
I think you're always going to have a combination. You'll always have people driving cars, and you'll have self-driving cars with the ability for you to manage over them, right? So there will be content types like processing millions and millions of emails that might be better done with a robot. Doing something that is very relevant for a brand or filing some regulated text with some local authorities is always going to be better done by a human. So content is not equal, the relevance of content is not equal, and sometimes you'll use one, sometimes you'll use the other.
So as businesses look at this ever-changing global landscape in terms of their digital content that's out there, what do you see are the strengths that a businesses should have going forward into the near future?
So first thing is they've got to get the languages, right? But language is not enough. You need to get the language, you need to get the context of what you're trying to communicate. Then there are going to be cultural nuances that need to be catered for in automotive and in travel. So many things mean different things in different countries, and you've got to provide for them. And then you've got to be able to be aware of who are you targeting. So if you're using a tone of voice that is very formal, it might not appeal to millennials. So you've got to sort of be very conscious of all these things and just as a business do this properly. Translation doesn't mean internationalization.
What about being truly disruptive in global business and the way it uses digital content in the future? What are you watching for at the moment?
What there is, if you talk to business leaders around the world, they're all thinking about digital transformation. How do I inject, right, the digital capabilities into my production systems, into my go-to-market systems, into my customer care systems? As this happens, we're generating a lot of content. Right? So there's this statistic that you quoted in the intro. We're creating more and more content every 2 days than we have in human history.
And it all needs translating.
And it all needs globalization. It needs translation. It needs to be adapted for formats, for context. Now, at a level of complexity above that, because now it's no longer text, it will be experiencing through VR, virtual reality, high-end goods and services. It is going to be exploring the infotainment capabilities of the new cars. It is going to be doing 3D printing in factories as a result of the advancements. It's going to be using robotics. So as all of this comes upon us at a speed of light, content is going to continue to emerge and markets are going to demand these new goods and this new content, and it all needs to be globalized. So fascinating years ahead.
Adolfo Hernandez, great to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed.
Okay, thank you.